This is Pat's Soundbites Unplugged. Unplugged. The podcast where all the artists go to tell it as it is. Careers, music, tours, and more. And here's your host, the man that refuses to eat squid, Pat Calamari.
Well, Pat Calamari here, Pat's Soundbites Unplugged for Thursday, March 19, 2020. Are you taking care of yourself, staying inside, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, and washing your hands? Like everybody else, staying inside. I can't believe we're having to tell people this, but hopefully this is coming to an end shortly. But I am excited to see that a lot of artists are taking advantage of the time and going online, using social media and performing some solo shows, whether it's Dan Brother on his porch over in Orange County, New York, or Keith Urban down in Nashville, or I kind of missed Albert Castiglia in Florida, and I think Papa Chubby was on last night, and more are definitely going that route, which is really cool, especially for the independent artists to get the exposure out there. Why wouldn't you take advantage? I mean, musicians love to play, love to perform live. I know it's a little different, but you never know. I watched Dropkick Murphys the other night, St. Paddy's Day. Had 100,000 people online viewing the live performance, even though they had no live audience. So there you have it. So hopefully we'll see more of that. Today, another great chat, as I like to call them. Such an honor to talk to this guy. One of the greatest guitar players on the planet, hands down. I don't know, they all come from Texas, it seems, or a lot of them. Mr. Eric Johnson. Eric's got a new album out called EJ Volume Number 2. And my goodness, he continues to peak at the top. Whether it's his singing, his songwriting, his melodic songs, his harmonies, obviously his guitar playing, whether it's acoustically or on the electric guitar, or even his piano playing, which he's really not known for. But this is a great album. It's got the typical EJ thing going on, 11 originals, 2 covers, and I forgot to ask him about the Beatles one. It's a great track, Hide Your Love Away, he does of the Beatles. Just never enough time when they have other things to do during the day, so I appreciate it. Even though he's in his studio practicing, he's got other obligations, he's got a full schedule, so honored to have the chat again. I got to see Eric, I got to meet Eric at the Ridgefield Playhouse in Connecticut after one of his shows, which was insane. We talk about the album, we talk about the tracks, we talk about the new Fender came out with a new Strat, a 1954 replica of they call it the Virginia model. He talks about that, which I learned something today. We talked about the G3, and I gave him a list of great guitar players and told him in a few words, tell me how you would describe their tone and their guitar playing, and he does a really good job with that. Super guy. Go buy the album and check him out. His tours obviously shut down, so go to ericjohnson.com when things settled back to normal and go support this amazing artist. And certainly stay safe and well, whatever you're doing. Wash your hands, washy. Stay well, stay safe, and hopefully this will end rather soon. And support your artists. Go to their merch table, go to their merch store, and buy a t-shirt, a koozie, a CD, a drum head, drumsticks, autograph picture, because they could use it now more than ever. Okay, enough of me. Enjoy, share, tell your friends, and thanks for supporting Pat's Soundbites Unplugged. Here is the wonderful Mr. Eric Johnson.
Hey, this is Eric Johnson, and you are listening to Pat's Soundbites Unplugged.
WBXO Classic Rock Redefined in conjunction with Pat Soundbites Unplugged. Such an honor. I'm all psyched and all happy to be able to chat once again, have this opportunity to talk to Grammy winner, prolific guitarist, vocalist, composer, multi-instrumentalist, Mr. Eric Johnson. Eric, how are you? And thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome, Pat. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh my goodness! No, I'm like, wow. This is I can't thank you enough. Eric, releasing his 11th studio album, which is terrific. EJ Volume 2 comes out on March. Well, it's already out, March the 6th on 2020, and he's started a tour, which obviously has been halted due to this coronavirus, but I'm sure once things get back to normal, we'll reschedule. Eric, what do you think of these crazy times we live in? Have we ever dealt with this before, that everything's shut right down, and I guess you're locked in your studio and playing more tunes?
No, I mean, it's I don't have any excuse for not practicing now, I guess. But no, it is a little, it's very strange, and it makes you can't help but be concerned and pensive about the whole thing. But and I know some people think, oh, we're overreacting, and I kind of think, well, maybe that's possible, but it sure is a lot safer to overreact than to underreact. So I think in the big picture, we're doing the right thing, and I think it's gonna, things are gonna start. We're gonna have to go through some stuff, but it's gonna work out.
I agree with you, sir, and we've been through this before, and I think this is the right thing to do, because if we don't shut it down now, I think it's just going to catch up to us later down the road. So, you know what? If it means that we got to stay in the home for a couple of weeks or a little bit longer, that works for me, because I'm excited to see you back on the road and some other tours to get back on the road. Did you think of, I see more and more artists today, because they are home, maybe doing some lessons on Skype, or even performing a mini acoustic show for like 30 minutes on social media? Are you interested, or any thoughts, since you got to practice and play anyway?
Yeah, no, we've been talking about maybe doing some online concerts and stuff. We've just been talking about that right now. We just got back home, so we're just still trying to get our footing, but we are certainly entertaining doing some of that, as well as I have a bunch of new songs I'd like to record. So yeah, just trying to figure out a way to be productive in a way, whatever we're doing, plus whatever is beneficial to others.
Yeah, I mean, I put out a video because I wanted to make it more personable, to say, at least for the independent artists, this is a way to gain so much exposure. I mean, putting out a video sitting home, I know it's maybe a little weird not having an audience and looking at a cell phone or however they record it, but to watch some of these artists that are out there. I mean, I watched Keith Urban the other day, and it was just him and his wife and two others, and he played a half hour, and there's over 100,000 viewers watching. So I think it's a great opportunity, to take advantage of, for at least, not only the national acts like yourself, but especially the independent artists, on where we are today in this crazy music world as well. So.
Totally, yeah.
Anyway, EJ Volume 2, I mean, you never seem to amaze me. Every album just gets better and better. In my small brain, in my opinion, playing it a bunch of times so far, it gave me the impression that you continue to focus on mastering the crafts of songwriting and singing and musical development, combining electric and acoustic arrangements, and doing your traditional, adding, 11 of your originals and selecting a couple of covers. Am I on target, Eric, with that? And did you believe you succeeded with reaching the goals and expectations of this amazing album?
Well, I think it's a step in the right direction, and that is honoring and strengthening what's the most important thing, which is trying to learn to write songs that, that have emotional content and that are connected with people, and that, I particularly enjoy trying to come up with lyrics that have some kind of hope in them, some kind of positive thing. And once I can establish that's more of my important directive now, and as I try to do that more and more, then it's totally, the sky's the limit as far as what you put with that, that can keep trying to put the instrumentation and the soloing and improvisation all well and good, as long as it doesn't eclipse the song,
Yeah, no, all about the song. I love the album. Very easy listening, and it contains those, I don't know what's the word, great elements of love and the stars and spiritualization and water and waves and, that connectivity that we all can relate to. I mean, from Water Wheel and Gift of Love and Hide Your Love Away and Over the Moon. And once you start from track 1 all the way down, I could play it in my car. I played it for my wife. We all can connect to it, and I think you did a great job with it.
Well, thank you, Pat. I appreciate it. It means a lot, because that was really what my focus was on this record. Because, honestly, I thought that was an area that I needed to strengthen in my music. My usual primary focus is making sure all my guitar parts are perfectly played and everything is just as expertly possibly done, and to a point to where they could be, I could sit back and marvel that it's just right, but that it's a little bit two-dimensional compared to putting a different emphasis up. I mean, it's all well and good to play as well as you can, but putting the emphasis where it really matters is something that I think I wanted to strengthen in my music.
Well, what caught my attention, when you mentioned Eric Johnson, people obviously gravitate to your guitar playing, which is incredible and out of the world. But I love the piano parts in some of the songs. I mean, Over the Moon, I just picture slow dancing with my wife in a low-lit nightclub, and it's just such a lovely ballad. And I think of Let a Friend Find You. I felt like I'm listening to a great James Taylor song.
It's funny you say that, because that was kind of my inspiration to write that song, was kind of like, because I'm a fan of James Taylor, I thought I'm going to write something that's kind of more in the James Taylor camp. I got busted.
I'm sorry. But you know what? It could be worse. I'll take James Taylor any day of the week. That's how I generate. And then, I'm a big fan of Stevie's Boogie. How you go from boundary to boundary. You cross genres of rock and blues and jazz and soul and even country. I always love, and I've always played Steve's Boogie, and then I listen to Charles Shrum's Boat, and I hear that bluegrass picking, and you just go from one to the other, and it fits so well for you. It makes it, I think, maybe I'm saying, you make it look very easy to do compared to other artists.
Well, it's hard. It's probably harder for me to do than other artists. I'm not really a natural in any style. I have to kind of work at it, and that's kind of why I'm a jack of all trades. I enjoy the fact that I try to be versatile, although I'm no master at one style. I just am kind of it keeps it interesting for me to see the validity and the beauty in all styles of music. And if you really, if you look behind the music and you let the spirit of the music in, you realize that, wow, this is crazy. This pop tune has some of the same energy that this Bela Bartok classical thing does, or Schulenburg thing. It's the same as the beginning of Wild Thing by Jimmy. And there is a connectivity of all art and specifically all music, and it's the spirit behind it. It's the same as, like, we're always wanting to define and shrink and be in these little catacombs of what we like, but if we step back and see a bigger view, we can be aghast at how the similarity and the connectivity is. It's like if somebody's so like, oh, I got to be on this religion that says I have to, use my right foot more than my left, or wear blue socks or something, and then all of a sudden they back up on, oh my God, you know what? All the religions are practicing love and forgiveness,
right?
And they're practicing being good to each other. And you start realizing the connectivity of everything, and when you look at that spirit behind whatever's being manifested,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I would think, I'm not a musician, but I would think, back in the day it was great, I guess, to say you were in one genre. But today's world, I mean, to see Post Malone with Ozzy Osbourne, I mean, all walls are down, and I think it's great. Even after you, Eric, 5 decades of performing and practicing and constantly creating different sounds and tunes to the guitar, I guess I know the answer, but do you consider yourself still a student of the guitar?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, every day I pick it up. I'm like, wow, what is this? And what do I need to learn today? And I think it's therapeutic for me to realize that. I mean, it is a reality, because there's always somebody that can play something better than you, and
right.
every single style I play, there's somebody that plays it better than me. I just happen to put all these different things together, but so every day I can learn something, and I think that's what keeps it fresh and liquid for me, because you remain a student. It's about the journey, and you're learning every step of the way.
Well, yeah, and I think that, like you used the key word, it keeps it fresh. It's a new day, new breath, and what can I get out of this? I got to go back to some of the tracks, and the one that really sticks out for me is Debonair, and I think hopefully I'm saying it right. What a beautiful name! Where did you find that? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, no, that's great. I don't know, I just kind of made it up.
Well, it works, dude. It got my attention. It sounds beautiful. What a nice, mellow, beautiful name, beautiful song. I mean, I've heard the word Devin. I know folks named Devin, but Debonair, wow. Really cool.
Well, thank you. Glad you like it.
All right, now let me lead into... every year I know you go to NAMM, and Fender is releasing a new EJ signature Strat, and I guess this year was the 54th Strat, the Virginia model. I'm not a guitar player or a musician, but I know online it got a lot of attention. If you can just tell me a little bit about that story.
Well, in 1954 is when they first started making the Stratocaster. At the time, there were 4 girls that worked at Fender putting the final parts of the guitar together. And when they would finish a guitar, they would take a piece of masking tape and they would sign the inside and date it.
Wow.
So if you take apart an original 54 Strat, you're going to see a piece of masking tape that either has, I think, Gloria, Mary, or Virginia, or there's a 4th girl, I don't know her name.
Okay.
So when I had my first 54 Strat that I found years ago, I lifted the pick guard once, and there was sure enough a piece of tape there that Virginia signed on it. So that was a really wonderful guitar to me. Unfortunately, I just still don't have it, but we copied that guitar in a lot of ways and tried to make a new version of the special qualities that guitar has. And that's what Fender has now released.
Is it available for the public, like a proto kit of it, of your signature that somebody can go out and purchase?
Oh, it's totally available. Yeah, they're making them right now. And actually, this last tour, I played a stock one right off the production line for almost the whole tour.
Eric, when you go to NAMM, does that get you excited to see what's on the market in terms of new products? I mean, I'm sure every vendor is going, Eric, try this new pedal effects that we came, and you walk out of there, or you're getting a million samples at home, and probably, again, it may be very exciting and fresh for you to tear open the box like a kid in a toy store and going, what can I get out of this? What works and what sounds is it? Does that happen for you, or is it just like, okay, here we go, doing my part in endorsing, whether it's Fender or Gibson?
Well, I work with Fender, so I'm always happy to go there, and it's always exciting for me to do that. The rest of the show has some amazing stuff. I think the challenge nowadays is the same with music. If you go to YouTube and say, I want to hear some new music that's just unbelievable, you're going to find it, but it's like, it's a mountain of stuff. You got to find it. It's just, I mean, the amount of stuff is so overwhelming that it's a little harder to find what you would deem really incredible, you know what I mean? So it makes it a little more of a challenge. So the NAMM show, you know, if I want to go find a new pedal for the guitar, okay, well, we have these 3,500 of them. We have to find them all. You know, it's crazy. It's overwhelming.
Wow.
It kind of takes away the, you know, I mean, it takes away some of the specialty of it because it's become so huge, you know what I mean? Which is, I think, true with anything that gets so mass-produced or so numerated. It can take away some of the specialty of when there's less, you know. So,
I've always wanted to attend just to see what it's about, but the January date I've always had conflicts of getting out to Anaheim. But I would just think, yeah, I understand. You know, we in this world we live in, there's so much technology. You can't get people off their iPhones. You know, growing up, I could care what was going on down the street of who did what. We were playing outside in playgrounds and, you know, having a great time. And now I drive by a playground and there ain't nobody on the playground. Everybody's so data technology driven. Like, there's so much out there and it's way overwhelming. And I could only imagine, as you pointed out, you know, 35,000 pedal effects. Yeah, that's a little extreme. That'd be a little crazy.
It's crazy. So yeah, so it's really hard to, especially at the NAMM show, to dig through it all and find something. You know?
So I put a list together. You know, last year, or when we last spoke, I mean, everybody couldn't thank me enough to ask you what makes an instrumental song compared to, you know, adding lyrics to it. And I love, and I hope I'm saying it right, Charleston's Boat is a great, I mean, all your instrumentals are great, but I mean, that one for this album really stuck out for me compared to the Black Water Slide and for the Stars. It's all really good, and everybody's like, oh my God, I can't believe you actually asked Eric, and he gave you a terrific answer. So I put this year for our chat, and just quickly, because I don't want to hold you up, I got 9 phenomenal guitarists, you know, past and present. And I know you were in the G3 tour with Joe and Stevie back, I want to say 2005. But in a few words to hear from you, can you just give me a few words to describe some of these guys and their guitar playing and tone and what you get out of it, or how you can describe it? And we'll start with Joe Satriani. What makes Joe? I mean, I seen Joe. I went to a G3 show, and my head was spinning, going, "Oh my goodness!" And I couldn't imagine you and Steve Vai. I'm like, "Oh my God!" What can you describe in a few words about Joe's playing and his tone?
Well, he's one of the best electric guitar players out there. I think he is an incredible technician, and he plays so clean. I mean, he's very consistent. He night after night. I mean, I've been on the road with him, and every night, I mean, he'll just play at his best. Something I wish I could do. I'm kind of all over the map. I have nights where, you know, but he's very expertly crafted player, and he writes catchy tunes that people love him for. I mean, he's a smart businessman and one of the best.
Yeah, he's got a new album out that I'm looking forward to listening to and getting a chance to chat with him upcoming, not too far down the road. And then there's Steve Vai. I mean, Steve, you know, again, another master at the craft. What can you describe with Steve's playing that you can share from being a colleague of his?
Well, you know, I think he started developing his thing with Frank Zappa. So there's humor and a lot of emotion and a lot of caricature in his playing, which is very it reaches people on that emotional level, and that's a very high important part of playing any instrument, you know. And he can do that because he puts a lot of that in it. And he's his own player. He's very unique.
talk about your old good friend, and I'm sure, and we all miss him, Stevie Ray. I mean, boy, there was a guy, when Stevie Ray popped up, I said, here's the guy that's going to take the blues, take it back to the level it really deserves, because he was an awesome singer. He was polished. He had the look. He had everything. And then we lost him. And it seems like, I mean, there's Eric Gales. There's other up-and-coming guys that are up there now. But, I mean, back in the day, Stevie Ray was like, oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about the real deal, like the real thing, you know, Stevie Ray and Timmy Vaughn, those guys are the real deal. And there's very few cats in these generations that assimilated the real thing. I mean, if you really listen to Albert King and the nuances and the inflections of the way he stretched the string, you know, you can hear hundreds, perhaps thousands of people playing when he played. And, you know, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine whether you don't even play it correct at all. It's still okay. It's all good. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a cliche, but to carry that torch and to leave yet another stamp for a younger generation. I mean, Stevie was one in a million, and he knew he could play it like Albert played it, you know, and you listen to his playing, it's like, that's it. That's the way it's supposed to be done. And just like when you listen to old Chicago blues, or, you know, the original guys, and then you hear Timmy Vaughn, I mean, those guys get the way the real first generation inflections of the way it's supposed to be done, and they should, you know, they go down in history. It should be honored and applauded for that, because it's keeping alive a certain art form that's beautiful, you know.
Absolutely, and I've been blessed to hang out a few times with Billy Gibbons, and, you know, when you sit down with Billy after a show and you talk about the blues, and his eyes light up, and, you know, he can't push me enough to go and check out the older blues stuff that's out there. And he says, you'll be amazed of what those guys did back in the day without the pedal effects, without the technology that we have out there today. Keep it online with the Texans. I mean, Johnny Winter, you know, there's a guy, you know, I'm not a big fan of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think it just should be called the Blues Hall of Fame. But to not have guys like Johnny Winter at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it amazes me. But I don't want to get into that. But oh my God, you talk about a guitar player.
Yeah, he was great. It's great. I remember hearing him when I was really, really young. There was a place called the Vulcan Gas Company, and it was before he had blown up. And I think I paid 50 cents to go in there and hear him play like a white Fender Mustang with his trio. And it was just, that's the first time I ever saw him. I was like, who in the heck is that?
And then there's Gary Clark Jr. I'm like, wow. I mean, I think he's finally getting the attention that he deserves, and he's a Texan guy, I believe.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, he's great. I mean, a beautiful singer. I love the way he sings, and great player.
I can picture you somehow trading solos with Jimmy Page in Zeppelin's Moby Dick. I think people would pay whatever it took to see you and Jimmy Page on stage. We'll get into Hendrix in a bit, but Jimmy Page and you would be, what a scene to be able to trade, you know, licks off of like a song like Moby Dick.
Well, that'd be fun.
I know you'd be going, okay, tell Jimmy to call me and we'll do it.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
And then we got to talk about your man, Mr. Hendrix. And when I saw you in concert in the late 2018 and you ended the show with Spanish Castle Magic, oh my goodness, I thought the roof was the place went insane. And going, friends of mine that are guitar players and musicians that attended that show, the words that I could describe was they were so tranced in watching every note that you played. I mean, they walked out of there, everybody was like, I got to try that, I got to do this, I don't know how he does it. And yeah, no, I know you're a big fan of Jimi Hendrix, and man, could you imagine a G3 or a G4? If it was you and Joe Satriani, obviously I think you would pick Jimi Hendrix. Is there someone else that you would grab on for the tour?
Well, there's so many great players, you know. Doyle Dykes is a beautiful acoustic player, and Julian Lange is a great jazz player. And there's just so many wonderful players. It's hard to you could just put you could put like a G100, I guess.
And yeah, I guess there's a couple I left out, and I'm not going to hold up your time. B.B. King, of course, and I can't leave out Eddie Van Halen. Eddie with his synthesized sound on the guitar, so incredible. Eric, I can't, as always, thank you enough for your time. I love the album. I encourage everybody to go out and buy it, just like your previous 10. EJ Volume 2 is awesome, and I would encourage folks to go to your website, ericjohnson.com, to check out the rescheduled dates once things get back to normal. You can find Eric on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course YouTube. I love Desert Rose. I hope that stays in the set list, even though Sting does a great Desert Rose, but I like your Desert Rose.
Well, yeah, we played that. We had that in the last tour. Yeah.
Excellent. And I got a note here, a new band lineup. I know a couple of guys playing on this album. If you want to just briefly tell us about who's in the band so we can give them the accolades as well.
Absolutely. Roscoe Peck is playing bass, Tom Breckline is playing drums, and a really fine guitarist, keyboardist, vocalist named Dave Scher is playing in the band as well. Excellent.
Well, we're looking so forward to it. Eric, again, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed the chat as much as I have.
I have, Pat. Thank you. Thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely, and we're going to continue to support you and play a lot of your tracks off of this album. It doesn't get any better than this. Mr. Eric Johnson on WBXO, where classic rock redefined in conjunction with Pat's Soundbites Unplugged.